All right, well, welcome to another episode of The Existential Roast with your host Tim and
Sophia.
Thank you so much for coming back and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1. We've got a very, very special guest today, Natalia.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you? We are so excited to have you, Natalia. Natalia is business entrepreneur. She is a past wedding planner with over 600 weddings that you've shot and planned and helped people find love.
Yes.
And she is the popular radio host of Swipes in the City, a very saucy and sordid blog where Natalia details her adventures and mishaps in the modern world of dating.
Yes.
Natalia, welcome to the ER.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. And tell us a little bit about Swipes in the City because we know what it's all about, but maybe our listeners would be interested to hear a little more.
Yes. So Swipes in the City has been in my head for many years now. So I have been single for about 9 years, which is a long time, and have had lots of dates in that time.
How many days do you think?
It would be close to 1,000 dates over that
Wow.
almost decade.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because we had a guest on our show last season who'd been on 50 first dates, and we thought that was
We thought
a lot.
that was a lot. On Natalia's website, Swipes in the City, you talk about how you've been on 1,000 dates, but it's not clear in what time frame.
Yes.
Over a decade, you would say?
Yes, over almost a decade.
And at what point did you decide this is now becoming a marketing idea?
Great question. It would be probably about 3 years in when I had accumulated quite a few hilarious stories at this point. And my workplace at the time just so happened to have a lot of married and women and people that had been in relationships for a really long time. And I was kind of their source of entertainment. Every Monday morning they would pull up a chair. We want to hear about your dates from the weekend, what happened. And they were just so funny / surreal / tragic that everyone said to me, you've got to write these down. You've got to write these down. And because I was a copywriter in that particular role, they knew that was obviously something that I loved and a skill that I had. And so it was in the back of my mind, maybe one day I would do a blog or maybe I would do a book, not for anything other than just my own personal fun and satisfaction, and obviously just to sort of share the laughs really with others. And then as time passed and obviously more dates and more craziness, I thought now's the time to do it. I'm just going to bite the bullet. And that was at the end of 2024. And then last year really kicked off with a bang and I launched the blog, started going on SAFM shortly after that as their resident dating guru, talking to Bernie, Vince and Emma G about, all my escapades and crazy tales. And yeah, here I am.
Fantastic. And what's the website? It's swipesonthecity.com.au?
It is. Yes, that's exactly right. That's correct.
So Natalia has some fantastic stories. I read a few of them and they're great. They're well written and they're funny.
They are so funny.
Thank you, guys.
And where can we find you on the radio?
It's a little bit ad hoc as to when I'm actually on, but what I do is I put all of my radio recordings on the blog as well. So if you go to my website, it's all on there. So if you prefer to listen, you'll be able to hear the stories. If you prefer to read, the blogs themselves have a little bit more detail. So there's both options on there.
Love
Yeah,
that.
fantastic. So Natalia, where did you and I meet? Because there's a bit of a story there.
There is. So we met at a Thursday single event.
Another singles night.
But this one sounds like it was marginally better than most of the ones.
Yeah, well, I think it was my first one that I've ever been to.
Right.
So I've been single for a long time. I was frustrated. And then I saw
Yes.
these single nights come up on Instagram. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. I think it was with a friend or two. I can't remember. I often go to them by myself sometimes as well.
Good for you. That's brave.
And I saw this beautiful person and I'm like, I'm going to approach her and have a chat. It was you, Natalia.
Very kind.
And we had a good chat, although it was soon apparent to me that you were sort of there looking for content. which I found quite endearing, actually.
Oh, thank you, Tim. That's very kind. Look, I'm always open to love, of course, but that was very much in the thick of when I had launched Swipes in the City. And so I was interested in just sussing it out from a content perspective, sure, but I also had a few single girlfriends that I was really wing-womaning for the night. So the focus was less on myself and more on them. And if there happened to be some content that shook out of it, then great.
Did anything come out of that night in terms of content?
No, it didn't. It
Probably
was
a
just
conversation with me.
well, here we are. So
Exactly,
it's led to
this is the
this. So lucky me. Yes.
I think the very next singles night I went to, it was at the Unley, and I think I saw you there briefly too.
Yes.
And I was talking to another woman for something like 30 minutes, and she was also there for business purposes.
Aha, yes.
So I was getting worried. I'm like, is every person I speak to just here with another agenda? Am I ever going to meet someone who's just looking for love, you know?
Yes,
It's quite funny. And of course I did, because I kept going.
Good for you.
And, some nights were great and some nights were not so
dismal.
great.
Yes.
A bit, dismal.
Yes.
They're interesting. What do you think of the concept in general of single nights? Because I think people are sick of the apps. Mm-hmm. They're sick of not meeting people organically.
Yes.
I speak to a lot of women who say, and men I guess, but women in particular, and they say, look, I just want to meet a man out and about.
Mm-hmm. In the wild.
In the wild.
Yes.
In real life.
Yes.
What do you think of these events?
I sadly don't think that meeting someone in real life it doesn't feel very achievable these days. And the reason being is because since the introduction of apps, I think that a lot of men, not all men, but a lot of men have become very comfortable with that way of dating, and subsequently they've lost a little bit of confidence, a little bit of gusto in the real world.
Yeah.
So I find that in general, men don't really approach women very much anymore. And even when I have, given them a smile or made it pretty obvious, I just sense this nervousness and shy. Maybe it's a fear of rejection. They haven't kind of built up that resilience, and it just doesn't really happen. As far as the apps go, I thought that it was good when they started because you can cross paths and meet someone that you might not ever otherwise. And I've met lots of really great people that way, whether they lived a different side of Adelaide or completely different career, and we wouldn't have met otherwise. However, over time, I just feel like it has become more stale, it has become more monotonous. That's why when these singles nights came up, I was initially quite excited because I felt like, okay, this is something that is completely different. It is getting people out of their comfort zone. It is seeing people in real life. I think that is so important when you are assessing chemistry. So I thought I would just go along and give them a go. And I think what I do also like about them is the fact that you are all there for the same purpose, so someone's single. So if you see someone and they're attractive, you can go up to them and that they're available. Whereas in the real world, you don't. You might see a hottie across the bar,
you don't know.
and you just don't know. And you might kind of try and give them a smile, but you're looking for the wedding ring, And so that's the positive, I think, of those nights.
Absolutely.
I have a question that's is not part of our questions, but it's something that's burning in my brain, which is, the whole concept of swipes in the city being, we live in a culture that is so instant. We can swipe when we don't like someone, and you just said then that when you see someone and you find them attractive, you will feel free to approach, right? And I feel like on the apps, it's, our idea of what you find attractive and what I find attractive might be worlds apart. It's subjective, right?
Yes.
And you do have that ability to just swipe left or right if you do or don't like the person. But when you're in front of them and you go up to them and you approach them, you might find them attractive, but the same might not be reciprocated. How do you manage that? And I don't imagine that you get rejected very often. I'm sure it's the other person.
That's very
but
sweet.
how does that? I guess how does that transpose? Because there's less. What am I trying to say? On an app, you can decide, oh, that person's not for me. I don't find them attractive. But when you're in person, you have to have a conversation.
Sure. So it's in person, if I approach someone and they don't like me, it's very hard for them just to swipe left, so to speak. They have to have that conversation with me, usually just to be polite and entertain me for a little while before politely excusing themselves. Not always, not always. I have been to single nights where very quickly someone will dismiss me.
Oh, gosh.
Or make it very
little bit
obvious. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened once or twice, and it's like, okay, they're not interested.
Wow, they really mean business.
They don't have any time to waste.
Wow. No, clearly not.
But then here's the thing, I think there's an advantage to having that conversation in person with someone, because you may swipe left on the apps, but in person, if you have a chat for 30 seconds to, 5 minutes, you might actually go, oh, hang on.
I actually like this person.
This person's not that bad.
I was going to say the exact same thing. So I have, being that I have my own business, I meet lots of different clients, lots of different people all the time. I'm not in one workplace. And there have been people that aesthetically, if I had come across them on the app, I probably would have swiped left. But after a conversation, there might not be that initial attraction from a 2D perspective, but they're warm and they're friendly and they're charismatic, and there's just something there about them that really tweaks my interest, and then I find myself sort of drawn to them. So I do think that is another big plus of these, well, just not even these nights, but just in real life in general, that it does allow you to dig that little bit deeper. But in terms of going back to your question, Sophia, for the rejection side of things, I think the longer that you are single and dating, the more you pick up a sixth sense for these things. And I feel as though, coming from a female's perspective, that men are even more obvious and simple and not as subtle as women. So if they're not interested, it's obvious. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And then I just don't invest any more time.
How do you distinguish between, and again, I'm sorry, I'm going off of our questions, but I really need to ask this question. How do you distinguish between this is a potential love interest and this is purely a story?
I will always go into a date hoping that they're going to be a love interest. I have had a lot of people say, oh, you know, are you only dating for content? And particularly obviously in the last 12 months since Swipes in the City went live. But no, I'm always dating for love first and foremost. And if they're not for me and it turns out that there's this hilarious date that just with these obscure things that come up, or it just takes a turn that I don't expect, the fact it's content is a bonus. But first and foremost, I'm always looking for love. That's my motivation.
As you were talking before, I thought of my supermarket trips, and I'm always going to the supermarket and running into these beautiful women just shopping. And
What supermarket are you going to?
Woolworths or Coles.
I don't see any hot men at my local Woolies.
Well, you're not looking.
Oh, clearly not.
Maybe you need to start going to Bunnings.
Yeah, Bunnings.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bunnings.
The treasure trove
Which
of
means
men.
I end up just having snags the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not a bad bonus.
Right.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a bit of sausage. Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
So I'm at Woolworths and I see this beautiful woman, and I think 10 years ago I may have been more willing to approach someone and say hi. These days there's a fear that I have that I'm overstepping some sort of boundary,
Or that you're going to come across as creepy.
or that I'm going to come across as creepy. Is that a sign of the times? Is it, I don't know what it is.
Good question.
And maybe it's just me, maybe other men or women don't have this issue, but there's this fantasy I have of meeting a woman in the salmon aisle.
Oh.
I mean, there are movies,
salmon aisle.
the salmon
Why
aisle
the salmon?
particularly, because I like
just
salmon.
Fish.
I like fish.
Well, there's plenty of fish in the sea, they say.
Hey,
So there you go.
segue. We love that.
I would think the produce aisle would be better. There's a lot of sniffing and squeezing and melons and so, maybe you're hanging out in the wrong aisle, Tim.
Maybe in the movies it's always the produce aisle. So
Yes, that's true.
Companion, that
true.
film with
yes.
Daisy, Edgar Jones,
Have you
and
seen Companion?
Sebastian.
I haven't, but speaking of films, I cannot believe you haven't seen The Notebook.
Thank you. Thank you.
Going back to
Boring.
an earlier podcast, that's a travesty, Tim.
It is. It really is. And you're now outnumbered. So.
Moving on,
Right.
back to our schedule. Yeah, look, I'll get
dear.
onto The Notebook eventually.
You have to now.
Yeah. So, look, let's talk about. I'd like to start a segment called Date of the Week, and we usually have a crazy, funny, bad dating story anyway.
Often bad.
Usually bad, but sometimes funny, or both. Natalia, you've got a lot of dating stories. I've revealed a lot of mine on the podcast. Sophia has revealed a lot of hers. I'd love to hear at least one of your dating stories, if you had one to share.
I do. I mean, a few come to mind, a few little quick ones, so I might share them if that's okay.
Please be our guest.
So there was one time where this quite successful businessman asked me out to dinner, and he picked me up in his BMW, and I thought, oh, this is very lovely. And I was very immaculately dressed, and the hair was perfect, and I'd really put a lot of effort in. And it was fringe season at the time. And we're driving through the city, and I thought, oh, this is exciting. I don't know where we're going. But obviously the city is alive that time of year. And he's driving through the city, and we're busy chatting. And then he drives out of the city. And I said, oh, where are we going for dinner? And he said, oh, I thought I'd take you to Nando's. And I laughed, thinking he was joking. Yeah. He was not joking. So he drove to the Nando's on Anzac Highway. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Yeah, I think it is.
But either way, we have a lovely view of the car park.
Awesome.
Wow.
And we're sitting on the plastic chairs, and they're, off.
And just to give us a visual, Natalia, tell us what you're wearing on the night.
So I'm wearing a bodysuit, with a bit of cleavage, and these sort of like black leather look pants, heels, hair's curled.
So not fast food attire.
Not fast food attire.
So you're looking amazing for this day.
So I'm looking good.
What was he wearing?
He was wearing like cargo pants and a t-shirt, which I just wasn't expecting, because he'd really, over the conversations that we had, really talked himself up and really put himself in such a frame that I was expecting, not even like an expensive dinner. That's not what it was about. Just a nice place. Just a nice, decent place.
Well, what's wrong with Nando's?
Yeah. So I'm vegetarian for starters.
Did he know that?
At the time I was a pescatarian, and we had talked about that, but still Nando's obviously chicken. And so we go and we are lining up, and he orders a whole chicken for himself.
For himself?
For himself. And I order, a veggie burger, and the checkout chick, the server says, like, oh, do you want fries with that? And I thought, words that should never be uttered on a date. Like, this is not great. But I thought, okay, like, I'm just going to be a good sport about it, and who knows? And so, yeah, we sat out there, and he was hoeing into this chicken. Like, he had not eaten for days. He is hoeing in, it's dripping down his hands, he's sucking the bones. Bone sucking is a red flag. Men out there that are watching, that is not date behaviour.
No bone sucking.
No bone sucking. So needless to say, it was a first date that went no further. And
did he expect a kiss or anything?
He definitely did expect a kiss at the end, and he...
With chicken breath?
With chicken breath.
Did he have like grease kind of like running down his chin?
I mean, he did during. I just didn't. I didn't look too closely. And then so after that, I sort of said, okay, look, I should get home. And he was shocked that I wanted to be dropped home. Shocked. So he took a really long way home, and we finally get to my door, but not before he's telling me all about how he's about to go see this wrestler in Melbourne, and he's, you know, all in the scene, and I think he was just trying to impress me, but all he had to do was just not take me to Nando's, and that would have already earned him some better points. So
Don't take the girl to Nando's.
no fast food.
I mean, I would much prefer like a coffee date over.
Me too. Absolutely. Let's just do coffee. That's fine.
And don't like maybe get dressed up. Like if you're going to do
Yes.
that, like let me show up in my shorts.
That's
and a t-shirt.
That's exactly right. That's right. It would have set the expectations a lot more fair for the date. Every date doesn't have to be a dinner date. It 100% can be casual coffee, great. And when I said to him over messages, look, I just don't think that we're very compatible, very aligned. I remember he responded and said, whoa, relax, I didn't pop the question.
Oh, I think you dodged a bullet.
I think you dodged a bullet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So so that was one. But other than a coffee date, I also love an ice cream date. I'm a sweet tooth. I'm a sucker for ice cream. So I did have another guy ask me out for an ice cream date, and he picked me up and we were going down to Glenelg. And as we're driving down, he's just driving really slowly and he's taking his time, and he's playing Usher, and he's like playing Craig David, and he's like looking across at me like, and then he starts singing, and he's trying to just like schmooze me and get me in the mood. He wasn't a good singer, so that's what made it really awkward. And we drive to Glenelg, and I'm thinking, okay, great. We're here, can get out, get my ice cream, and quickly kind of wrap this date up. But he sort of drives out of Glenelg, and then he's sort of driving off, and I said, oh, are we stopping to get ice cream? He's like, yeah, in a minute. I just want to play you this song. It's like really good. And then he just like kept singing. We weren't stopping for ice cream. It became clear after a while.
Oh my God.
He was just trying to get me in the mood. And then he had talked earlier in the night about how he owned a house and had done renovations on it and was really, proud of it. And so as we're driving out of Glenelg and then sort of headed west, we're driving and he says, oh, we're about to pass my house. And I said, oh, okay. And he drives and he pulls into his driveway because it was off of a main road, right? So we're just driving, pulls into the driveway.
And for reference, this is the first date.
This is the first date. I was a bit reckless when I was younger, so I wouldn't do that now. But yes, first date. We'd had some phone conversations and what have you, but yeah, this was first date. And he says, "Oh, my brother's home," because there was this car in the driveway. And I said, "Oh, okay. So it's getting pretty late. I should head back." And he said, "Oh, I've just got to run in quickly, ask him something. But I also really want to show you the whatever it was that he'd renovated." And I'm thinking, oh, massive red flags at this point. But even though we had met online, we had mutual friends.
Oh.
So I sort of thought which we had discovered. We didn't meet that way. But I thought, okay, there's people that we both know. For me, it was just people that I'd worked with in the past that had been friends with him. So I sort of felt, okay, he's not just a complete stranger off the street, even though it was a little bit awkward. So he opens the door, and the first room to the left was his room. And he opens the door and he points to the bed and he goes, "Oh, just take a seat. I'll be back in a minute." And so he goes, and I deliberately don't sit on his bed. I sit on his computer desk chair. And he goes out and he comes back in and he's got his trackies on. He's settling in for the night.
Wow.
Very presumptuous. And I'm thinking, does this work on other women? Has this worked in the past? So he walks back in, as I said, in his all comfortable clothes and says, "Oh, no, yeah, here, sit on the bed. Here's the remote. I just have to do a quick work email, put something on that you want to watch." So this has taken a really strange turn. So I open up Foxtel and he can't even let me pick something. He's like, oh, there's this really good like UFC fight on, like. So he changes the channel to UFC, and so I'm sitting there thinking, how am I going to get out of this situation? And he sends his work email and then comes, sits down, and he goes, oh, man, I'm so sore from the gym. Like, it's just like I've been working out so much lately and I'm just like got a really sore shoulder. Like, do you know how to give massages? And I was like, no, I don't. He goes, yeah, just here. Like, it's just here in this spot. Anyway, and so obviously it's like any opportunity to like flex his muscles. Anyway, I managed to say like, look, I've got to go home. I can just Uber it, you know, that's fine. And he was like, no, like I'll drop you home, like very begrudgingly, very shocked that I wanted to leave. I think he thought the schmoozing and the singing would win me over.
And at this point, no drink, no ice cream, nothing.
No drink, no ice cream, no nothing.
This man has literally taken you the long route to his home.
He's taken me the long route to his home.
But he sung for her.
That's right. So that should be enough.
That should be enough.
I actually like have high blood pressure like hearing this. Like I'm just like actually like angry because I know that like the bar is in hell right now for a lot of women.
Oh yeah, terrible.
But even as a guy hearing that, like it's ludicrous.
Ludicrous, right? And here you are afraid to approach someone in the salmon aisle, and this is what's happening with this other person.
Yeah.
Do you think that just comes down to like an inflated sense of ego?
Could be.
I do. And in his case, I definitely do. He was a business person. He was an entrepreneur. And I think that he had his like big muscles from the gym. And so I think that he did just have a massive ego and really thought that him just being him could get women into bed.
It's so interesting though that he wasn't really direct. You know, he went away, got into his trackies and turned into the room. The little subtle hints that you're staying, that's my intention.
Correct.
As opposed to saying, hey, do you want to come in? Or there was no question. There was no, do you want to come back to my house? There was no.
No, that's right. No question, all assumption, yes.
I think it's really important to pay homage to what we discussed in our last episode about how a woman in that environment, because we talked about how sex is sometimes assumed by a man, and how a woman in that situation might not have the confidence to say, actually, I would like to go home. They might feel like they have to put themselves in a situation that they are going to regret tomorrow, or they'll be open to assault or something else. So absolutely. Even having the confidence and the courage to go, actually, I'd like to go home now, like at a younger age, and even now, like, you know, we're both in our 30s, that takes a lot.
Yes.
Because you're already in a vulnerable situation.
You absolutely are. And I think I've been very lucky that even at a young age, I was independent / like determined that no one was going to, you know, force me into any kind of situation that I wasn't happy with. But there are a lot of women and girls out there that just don't have that confidence or that ability to say no. So I got the impression that he was a man who very much gets what he wants.
And I would argue that, like, you know, we talk about fight and flight, but we don't talk about the third component, which is freeze and fawn. Yeah. Right? And as women, sometimes we fawn in order to get out of uncomfortable situations. Have you found yourself like on a date where within the first few minutes you're like, I don't feel comfortable, like something's not right? Have you ever had that spidey, like, woman's intuition where you're like, something's just not right?
I have. And for me personally, freeze is my go-to. That's my first response. Yeah, I definitely don't come out swinging, but I also don't want to trigger someone if I feel like I am unsafe.
Yeah, of course.
So that's where I don't like go straight away either. I sort of like freeze, and I really do take that moment to assess the situation. What's going to be the safest outcome for me? Where to from here? Yeah, it's as women and men, like, not to, you know, obviously just focus on women, but generally speaking, women are the ones that tend to be in those more vulnerable situations, and it's hard. It's definitely one of the perils of dating, especially dating a lot of a lot of people.
What advice would you give to young women who have find themselves in that situation in terms of keeping safe?
So when I was younger, I was a lot more throw caution to the wind, and that's why I would have a first date where I would let them pick me up, for example. I would never do that now, and therefore would not recommend that. And I think that these days a lot of women and like young women in particular really do have like their wits about them a lot better, and I think that they wouldn't do that. They are more likely to meet someone in a public place, especially since online dating has really obviously taken off in the last sort of 10 years. So I would say just best to be in those situations, and then even if something isn't quite right, you're in a public place, you're safe, you're going to be fine. But it is hard to have that, okay, well, you know, time to go moment.
Well, as you were talking about being put in an uncomfortable situation, which, you know, I'm sure a lot of women can relate to, it reminded me of a situation that I was put in years and years and years ago. I was in a very casual relationship with someone, and we'd see each other, I don't know, once a month maybe. It was just easy, casual.
Yeah.
You know, nothing serious.
Yes.
And I hadn't seen her for quite a long time. And then she kind of reached out to me out of the blue and said, hey, let's hang out. Come to my new place. I want to show you my new place.
Sure.
So I went to her new place, and usually when I'd go catch up with her, sex would be involved.
Sure.
So I thought, great, okay, we'll have a good night, you know, like old times. And
I'll make sure I shower beforehand, get ready,
all of
primed
that.
and primed, got it.
All of that, yeah. So look, I was really looking forward to it. So I go over there. It's great to see her, but she's got a friend with her this night. A friend. I didn't expect a friend to be there.
A female or a male?
A female friend.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, fantastic. This is okay, great. Hi, how are you?
Yes.
We have a chat, and the night went on, and there was some pizza and there was some movies, and my friend was hitting on me quite openly in front of her friends, and that's fine. But it came to my attention that my friend wanted sex, but her friend was still sort of in the room. And it was just a little bit awkward because I didn't know this person, and didn't really know what was going on. I hadn't been alerted to the fact that there'd be a third party involved. Yeah. And so at one point, the person in question went into the toilet, and I said to my friend, hey, what's going on? What's with this other person? Like, she's nice, but I don't know her. And she said to me, oh, look, she really likes you, Tim. She thinks you're hot, and I think she wants something to happen. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Gosh.
I didn't really... First things first, I wasn't particularly attracted to her. I didn't know her. I didn't know what she wanted exactly. Sort of, we were lying on the bed at one point, and her friend, my friend's friend, was texting on the phone to someone. And me being me, I looked over at the phone because I'm a bit of a snoop.
Sure. As you do.
And she was writing to a friend, and in the text message it said, hey, guess what? I think I'm going to lose my V-plates tonight. So as it turned out, my casual girlfriend decided that she wanted me to take the virginity of her friend.
Oh my gosh.
So they had organised this evening in the hope that I would sleep with her friend.
Oh, wow.
So suddenly I felt very panicked. Because I wasn't part of that conversation. I didn't know that was the intention for the evening. I felt very, pressured to do something that I didn't want to do. And I was much younger back then. I didn't have the words or the confidence to say, no, I'm not interested.
Yes.
So there was all sorts of things that went on. I feigned going to sleep and did a lot of going to the toilet and
and how the hell am I going to get out of this situation?
There was one point where my casual girlfriend would start kissing me, and then her friend would sort of start, rubbing my arm or sort of touching me, trying to involve herself in
grooming you.
I guess you could call it that. Yeah, I don't really know. Sort of involve herself in the situation, basically.
Yes.
And I really wasn't consenting to that.
Yes.
I didn't know who she was, wasn't attracted to her. I thought it was just me and my casual girlfriend.
Yes, yes.
And I'd read this text message that revealed the fact that she wanted to lose her virginity. And
oh, gosh, Tim.
so...
And if we reverse that?
Exactly. So that's my next point. Can you imagine if the genders were reversed and it was two guys who had invited their casual girlfriend over?
There'd be a police report, I'm sure.
There'd be a police report. So eventually, look, I pretended to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. It was like 4 a.m. Pirates of the Caribbean was playing on the TV.
That's why you don't like watching it anymore.
Yeah, can't watch it.
Yeah.
And eventually those two fell asleep and I got up and left my belt there. I just kind of quickly threw my clothes on and I got out of there.
Yes.
Because I didn't know what to do.
Yes.
So, look, there's more to the story than just that, but I think that's all I'm comfortable in revealing.
Sure.
But that's the gist of it.
Yes.
So I was in a situation I didn't want to be in. I didn't know how to get out of it. I also didn't want to offend my casual girlfriend or the other person involved. She had been obviously told that I might be interested and she wanted to lose her virginity, and I didn't want to be that person to do that for her. That wasn't, you know, I felt very used.
Yes, yes. Used and pressured and surprised. Well, I think that it is so important that you shared that. Thanks, Tim. I know that's not easy. I think that's really great because it is important to know that it's not just women that find themselves in really uncomfortable situations. It
100%.
is men too.
Men and women.
Men and women. Absolutely. Yes.
People of all kinds, you know, like if you're in a situation I think it's important to note that coercion can happen to anyone at any time.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, the older you get, the more you recognise those signs and are able to preempt maybe, but again, it's hard, right? Like
or maybe when you're in it, you can better articulate a way to get yourself out of it, but that takes years and wisdom and experience to be able to get to that point.
Absolutely. And I think if that happened to me now, I think I'd very easily just say, no, thank you. I didn't know this was a thing. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Back then, years ago, I didn't know what to do. So I was really interested in what happens to a person who's been single and touch-starved and sort of hasn't had any physical touch in their life for a long time. The stats sort of say, in particular men, but I suppose this could be the same for women, but for men after about the age of 10 to 12, they don't really have any physical touch unless it's from their mother or their partner.
Or sex and violence.
Sex and violence, right. So I found this really interesting because if you don't have a partner, then you're potentially not getting any physical intimacy. So I just wanted to look at the importance of physical touch. So I came across this article. It is by an author named Tina Fey. I don't know if it's the actor. I'll have to look that up, could be. People who crave physical touch but don't get it usually display these 8 telling behaviours. So I just want to look at those behaviours and then go into what we can do about it.
Great.
So they hold on to physical objects more. So things like sitting in front of the TV holding your pillow.
Interesting.
Which is something that I did for years.
Interesting.
They tend to do that while watching TV or wrapping themselves up in blankets. And Tina Fey says, when we lack human touch, we seek physical comfort through objects. You might notice yourself lingering in hot showers or baths, wearing soft textured clothing, sort of ways to soothe your nervous system through sensory input.
And I think it makes perfectly good sense too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So people who are sort of devoid of physical touch or crave physical touch often experience more anxiety and stress because physical touch and physical intimacy releases oxytocin and reduces cortisol. So it's like a reset button for your nervous system. Without it, our stress response stays activated longer than usual. So you overthink situations, you struggle to calm down after stressful events, things like that.
Well, you think about a baby, like if you deprive a child of basic human touch, that child is not going to grow. They're going to become emotionally and physically stunted. It's actually proven.
Absolutely.
They're not releasing those
excellent point.
hormones.
Absolutely. So when a child is distressed, they go to their parents not just for comfort, but also to regulate their nervous system.
I was about to say self-regulation, 100%, and I feel like it's harder for us to self-regulate if we don't have that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Number 3, look, we've just said it. They struggle with emotional regulation. Literally just says what we've talked about. When you're hurt as a child and your parents hugged you, this didn't just comfort you emotionally, it also regulated your nervous system. Yeah.
Yes. We could write this article.
We could write this article.
So that'll be the next one.
Tina Fey, eat your heart out. Another thing they do is they over-communicate through words. So if you're deprived of physical intimacy, you tend to overcompensate by talking more.
That's an interesting one.
Perhaps they send long messages or over-explain themselves unnecessarily.
Sound like someone you know?
Well, it sounds like a few people I know on the apps. So we talked about trauma dumping, where I'll get these long essay-length messages from women on Bumble, and they're really just looking for someone to vent to.
Yes.
So I wonder if maybe they have a lack of intimacy in their lives and that's their way of...
Maybe you should suggest to them they need to start cuddling a pillow more.
Yeah, or cuddling me.
Or cuddling you.
Maybe.
Touche, great call, Tim.
I think that's a really good pickup line.
Send them
I'm
the
gonna
link
use
to
that.
this article and say, I'm really doing this for your benefit.
For your benefit, yeah.
Yes.
We need to be a
Absolutely.
well-rounded human being.
Absolutely.
It is mentioned though, however, no amount of talking can replace the connection formed between two people for a warm embrace or a hand on the shoulder. Thank you. Just hold that there. A bit longer.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Tim.
Okay, that's all I needed. That's all I
Great,
needed.
amazing.
Great. They develop substitute behaviours. So people self-medicate for their lack of physical touch by shopping, developing elaborate beauty routines,
I just like to look pretty, okay?
eating excessively, things like that,
Yes. okay.
apparently.
Interesting.
Number 6, they have difficulty with physical boundaries. Okay, this is a really interesting one. So people who crave physical intimacy and don't have any either become touch avoidant or touch too much, often inappropriately and without recognition of social cues or what's appropriate, which is really, really interesting.
That is an interesting one.
I would just put a caveat in there. And again, I'm coming to this from a...
Go
I
on.
love when I do my
I
caveats.
knew it was coming. Go on.
From a cultural perspective, like as a Greek
Yes.
person, when we moved to Australia from England, my parents, my mum more so, but we would go around and hug and kiss everyone because that's
Yes.
in our culture to do that.
Yes.
And then we very quickly realised, like, no, you don't hug everyone. Not everyone wants to be hugged. In fact, it's like there's a degree of separation. So I would also put a caveat in there that me touching people on the shoulder or like kissing on the cheek, like that is a cultural thing which other people might not feel comfortable with. So now I just make a blanket rule not to do it. You can often tell if someone like wants to
can.
reciprocate.
Yeah, sure. But I think
can.
what Tina Fey is going to crack me
I
up
know,
every
it's
time I
great.
say it.
I love that.
What Tina Fey is saying is that it's not so much a cultural thing, but someone who very rarely receives physical touch doesn't have the social awareness about when is appropriate to touch and when is
Yes.
not.
Yes, and when you read that, it did make me think straight away. I filtered through so many years of dating and incidences where that 100% was the case. It felt like the person I was on a date with just could not read the room at all.
Oh, interesting.
And it's almost like they were so fixated on maybe the lack of physical touch that they were receiving at the time, or just their strong need for it, that they would be constantly sitting too close, leaning into too much, constantly sort of, touching me where it was just, not in a sexual way, but whether it was my arm or my back or whatever, it was just to excess. And so that's definitely something that has happened in the past, and maybe this is an explanation for it.
Do you think it's a red flag though? Because I personally, if I'm on a date with a guy and chemistry is flowing, I want him to like squeeze the knee.
Oh, I
or
agree.
like not overly, like something that you mentioned,
Yes.
like you'll flick the hair off the shoulder. Like I think that's hot.
Me too. I like that too.
Okay.
If I'm feeling it.
If you're feeling it.
And that's the hard part,
That's
right?
the hard part,
Read the
figuring
room,
out
guys.
if you're feeling it,
Figure.
for me to be able to do that without causing any awkwardness.
Exactly. But I agree with you. When the chemistry is flowing, that is a nice thing. When I'm feeling the chemistry and I'm reading that it's reciprocal from their side, I am a bit touchy-feely, like, and it is an arm or it is, it's obviously, I'm not going for the groin. Like, it's very subtle. It's very respectful. But I do that too. And I usually will then, if they reciprocate back, I go, great, okay, it's okay. So I would probably say, and once again, like, not to be sexist, but I would say that if I was a man who didn't know if I'm pushing the boundaries or not, I would let the woman take the lead on that kind of thing. And if they are reaching out and touching an arm, what have you, then for me, that would very much be them inviting that type of interaction.
Would the same apply to like kissing?
Yeah, like if I kissed, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, if I kissed a guy, that would be very much giving him the green light. Because alternatively, if I'm not interested in kissing him goodnight, my little tactic is that I will go in for a super quick hug.
Yes, every time.
I go in for the super quick hug.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yep, thanks so much. Break it off. And then it's like we've had our goodbye from a physical interaction perspective.
There's no lingering.
There's no lingering. There's no pause. There's no opening for maybe a kiss moment.
But you're not the only one, because I know if someone's interested in me by that moment, at the end of a date, if they're interested in a kiss, they'll leave an opening.
Yes.
If they're not, it's a very quick hug, see you later,
Exactly.
and they're out of there. Yeah.
I have a question on that, because we're talking about lingering and a pause, but Natalia is saying, like, you would actually go in for the kiss.
I would go in for the kiss.
That's confident.
It is confidence.
I love that
Wow.
so
I would
much.
go in for the kiss. I don't think maybe a lot of women would, but at the very least, when I was, say, younger and maybe I wouldn't go in for the kiss, I would definitely leave the gap, as you were saying, Tim. I would leave the gap. I would leave that opportunity for them to lean in.
Yeah, it's an indicator of interest, leaving that
Yes.
space.
Yes.
And that's an invitation for the man to make the move.
Yes, that's right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Where were we? Difficulty with physical boundaries. Yeah, there's another one where you hug someone and you just hug a little bit too long as well. There's, some guys in particular, I think, don't know when to let go.
Yeah, that creates a pretty awkward moment right from the get-go, doesn't it?
I would also argue that, like, you can tell a lot about a person's attachment style from the way they hug you. Like, I have friends who are like, and they're just like, it's a very, like, light pat. You do this to me, actually, where it's just like a light pat.
Yeah, because I don't want to give you the wrong idea.
No, but, like, we've talked about how you, like, have that avoidant,
I do.
like, attachment.
Okay,
I'm more anxious,
interesting.
and I'm a very warm, like, bubbly person. So I'm, like, not afraid to hug, but, like, some people are a little bit. I'm talking about, like, close friends. We're not talking about random strangers.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting that I think everyone has, like, a hug style.
I don't know, because with some friends, if I'm comforting them, like a friend of mine was very upset in recent times, and I gave her a really long, good hug.
So I just have to cry to get a hug from you.
You need to cry.
Got it.
No, but anyway.
You're talking about attachment styles and being able to read that from the hug. For me, I can tell quite quickly, and I know that you touched on love languages in another podcast, if physical touch is one of their love languages from the hug.
Oh,
And I find that just because I'm very familiar with the book, with the love languages theory, that usually by the end of a date, and I mean a date that I'm invested in, so maybe it's been like a 90-minute date where we have talked about a lot of things, I can usually tell them at the end of the date what I think their love languages are, and most of the time I'll have it right.
is there a specific question that you would ask on the date to elicit that?
Well, the physical side of things is like I can just feel it, I can sense it. Also, how close do they sit to me? Do they reach out and touch my arm? If I'm doing it to them, does it seem like it's well received? So I can usually read the physical stuff without a question. Otherwise, how complimentary are they? Have they been sending me a lot of compliments in the lead up to the date? Do they give me compliments on the date? I find that if they are very complimentary, they tend to be someone who leans towards that words of affirmation side of things. Yeah. I will always ask them about past relationships. Now, I guess this is a topic where some people say that is taboo and you should not do that. I do it because I feel like that tells me so much about that person, and that tells me more about that person and how they're going to be in a potential relationship with me than anything else that I could ask. I do ask about how long they've been single and how long they've been with their past relationship. And I find that even from, learning why they split, that also tells me what were they needing that they were potentially not getting in that relationship. So all of these little things I sort of piece together, like they're all clues that I usually can get a pretty good read on that person's love languages by the end of the day.
I love that. And also how many of their exes they describe as crazy and psycho and don't want to take any accountability.
Absolutely. Do they take accountability? Are they naming the ex, less than desirable things? All of that, once again, tells me so much about that person.
That's such great advice.
So if you and I are on a date, Natalia, and you say, Tim, how long have you been single? And I say I've been single for, 8 years. What does that tell you?
Well, first of all, I would follow it up with, oh, that's interesting. Like, why have you been single for so long? Right. And depending on your answer. So I won't judge you straight away.
Right.
I would ask you. And if you said, oh, I just like being on my own and dating's not really that important, and that probably would be a little bit of a red flag. I think it's important to have your alone time, to be your own person, absolutely. But if you haven't prioritised trying to find someone in 8 years, I would question how important it is to you.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe what are your motivations now? Has there been a life change and something that has made you suddenly want to be dating? Or is it maybe you're just dating for fun? And if so, does that align with what I'm looking for? Yeah. So these are the things that would go on in my head.
So would you say that it's a potential red flag if a person's been in lots of hard and fast situationships or, relationships over that period, as opposed to
being single?
Being single and not dating or going on first dates?
Excellent question. You're whipping out some really good ones today, aren't you?
I
love this.
I need to pick her brain about this.
I love this. No, this is so great. A big red flag for me is someone who I call relationship hops. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If someone is back-to-back, always in relationships or situationships, and there's never been any periods of being alone, that for me tells me that maybe they can't be alone, they don't like their own company. Why is that? But also I feel like self-development and growth is so important, and that happens in those spaces where we are by ourselves with our own thoughts, day in, day out. We're reflecting, we're processing, perhaps we're grieving, whatever it might be. But that is more of a red flag to me than someone who's in a long-term relationship or situationship, or even someone who's been single for a long period of time, providing that there's a good explanation as to why they've been single. Yeah, so more relationships is more of a red flag.
Some people can't do it. They can't be single. They can't be
No,
alone.
they can't.
They have no idea how to just be with themselves.
No.
And it's concerning. And I know people like this as well. They go from relationship to relationship. They fall in love like that.
Absolutely.
And they can't be alone.
No.
Can't do it.
I think what I love about Natalia's answer is you're obviously a very analytical but also reflective person. And I feel like when you laughed earlier, you laughed because you've, forgive me for putting words in your mouth, but you've been on dates where someone's asked you that question, but they haven't taken the time to actually understand your reasoning behind being single.
Correct.
Whereas Natalia is coming to a date with, some really person-centered, like reflective listening. And I think that's really important. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I do think it is really easy to judge people these days, or well, any days really, but a lot of people just have that tendency, and that might be their knee-jerk reaction. And I think that also comes with the whole swiping, right? That's a few-second judge. But if it's gotten to the point where I am actually sitting across from someone, they've made the effort and the energy and put forward their energy to sit there with me on that date, I really genuinely want to learn about that person. And to genuinely see if it's a good fit or not. And so rather than the moment I get an answer that might not be ideal, I definitely do dig deeper, and I really encourage people to do that, because I think that if you've gone to all of that effort, you just really genuinely try and get to know that person.
People who crave physical touch but don't get it usually display these 8 telling behaviours. They experience more physical health issues.
That's interesting.
So touch deprivation can turn up in the body as headaches, insomnia, chronic pain and digestive issues such as acid reflux, etc. Sounds like me.
It's very random.
Yeah, so your immune system also weakens, and touch can also naturally release emotional tension. And look, I'm seeing studies online, on Facebook, it comes up all the time that a lack of physical intimacy can cause health issues. I don't know the validity of these claims, but
Sure.
I'm assuming there's some truth to them.
Well, we're not designed to go through life not being with each other.
No.
No.
We're not one people
That's
island.
right. Yeah. Well, look, there's either some truth to them or it's just many lonely men writing articles.
But this is Tina Fey.
Oh, that's right. It is Tina Fey.
Yeah, could be a guy, who knows. So basically, the more you get touched, the better, the more healthy you are.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, I think that if you don't have an intimate partner, just book in for more massages.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that's a good little solution in the interim.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, people devoid of physical touch create drama or conflict. So hear me out. People who lack physical touch or intimacy sometimes create drama unconsciously because negative attention is better than being ignored. So arguments lead to make-up hugs. Drama draws people closer, even if temporarily or in a negative manner. So this isn't a manipulative maneuver, it's one made out of desperation and loneliness.
Desperation indeed.
You would see this in like long-term married couples maybe where the wife is quite frustrated.
Yes, that makes more sense. I think you're right. I think you would see it more in long-term relationships and marriages.
You can still be touch-starved in a relationship as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So I found all of those really interesting. So look, just to finish that up, what can we do about it? So if we're single, if mum isn't giving us a hug or we don't see mum that often, what can we do to be touched, basically?
Yeah.
And to meet that unmet need, Natalia, what would you
Yes.
say for our single girls and guys out there?
I mean, I love a good massage. So that is something for me that it feels, and I know it sounds a little cold, but like it's transactional in the sense that I don't have to give anything from an emotional perspective or a mental perspective. I literally can just relax and enjoy that touch. So that is my personal solution. Either that, or I guess if you're this way inclined and you don't meet anyone that you want to have an actual relationship with, if there's someone who obviously the values align and you're both looking for the same thing, then I have definitely had a couple of long-term situationships that have just served me best in my life at various times. And
Sometimes you're not in the right frame of mind to be in a relationship, but you're both in the same kind of life space and you make it work. But I do love the massage because I feel like men are terrible at giving massages.
Oh, come on.
They're like, oh, okay, you done, my turn.
No, I'm a really good masseuse when I need to be.
Yeah, but I feel like there's always like a pressure at the end of that massage. Like,
yes, I do too.
Come on.
It's a happy ending. That's
Yeah,
expected.
that's right.
I just
Now.
want my shoulders rubbed. God damn it. I love that.
Yes.
Fair
Yes.
enough. I mean, there's the other end of the spectrum to this, which is prostitution.
Yeah.
If you want
Sex work.
physical needs met.
Or sex
Yeah.
toys.
Sex toys.
Yes.
I feel like the rise of sex toys is something that we haven't really spoken about in the pod,
Haven't,
but it's
no.
something that is so much more prevalent now where people are like, I don't need anyone, I'm good.
There's a few other things down here. Hug friends longer with their permission. Get a pet. So having a pet.
What have I been saying to you?
Nice.
I've been saying to Tim for years, get a cat. Your life will just change dramatically. Like, Milo's my best friend.
I love that he did comment on that.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Look, I wanted to. I wanted to say something crass like, I love a good pussy, but no, thank you.
Oh, we had to say it.
I had to say it. I've said it
The
now.
joke, you've said it now.
Yeah,
I've said it now.
that's it out.
Hopefully mum and dad won't watch the podcast.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Here we go. Regular haircuts or manicures.
Oh, I love a good head massage in the
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Ah, well, how are you going to go with the haircut situation?
Yeah, see, I can't. I've just got the razor and I do it myself. It's not the same.
But you can go and have like a head massage
I could
at
do.
a
You
salon.
You can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I might have to do that.
I think so.
Longer showers, and I'm guilty of this. I have really long showers. Apparently, they're good for regulating the nervous system too. use weighted blankets. Now this is a new one. Listen to ASMR
Oh my
videos.
God, yes.
So ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, a pleasant sensation some people experience when listening to these particular videos.
You've experienced that?
No, I haven't. Tell me about this.
The sounds activate the area of the brain that processes touch and may help people feel calm and relaxed.
So basically, it's an auditory sensation where you have to like use earphones.
Yes.
It's a deep inner ear like sensation where like some of the ASMR videos are like you're at a salon and your head's being massaged, but it literally feels like.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
It's amazing. It's really good for like, I just remember like really stressful periods in life when I was at uni and like needing something to de-stress when I was in a relationship. And it's just not, it's just a nice feeling.
Oh, I'm going to explore that. Yeah, great.
So there you go. What else? Exercising, yeah. Also using body pillows. So those are long body length pillows you can kind of spoon at night.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good pillow spoon.
Do you relate to like being in a situation where you felt so lonely or like bereft of someone else's touch? Because like going on dates doesn't necessarily equate to like emotional intimacy, right?
When I've felt lonelier is when I've been really optimistic about a date, like I've had a really good feeling about it or great conversation, or I thought I finally come across someone who's my type, and the date doesn't go well. And that hope, that lack of that hope that just gets sort of sucked out of you like the wind getting taken out of your sails, definitely feel worse as a result of that, for sure.
What would you say to people who might be feeling a little bit cynical, have been on maybe not 1,000 dates, but have been, going on a lot, like to keep going essentially?
It's hard. It is absolutely hard. Often people say to me, I don't know how you keep it up, because they just lose the hope, lose the will, lose everything. And I call that dating fatigue. And I feel like when you get to that point, you actually need a break. As much as that might be when you're really craving it and when you're really going on a lot of dates and you're really putting yourself out there, I think that actually having a break and bringing it back to yourself and filling your life with joy and other things that you love, whether that's your hobbies, whether that's quality time with your friends. I think that it is important to just recalibrate before diving straight back into it, because if you just keep pushing through when you're already feeling exhausted and like it's just not happening for you, you're not going to be giving off the right energy, and I think you're just doing yourself a disservice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this might be a good time to bring up the fact that you've been on 1,000 dates. Mm-hmm. What does that entail? Like, because, some people might equate that to a body count. Is that the case, or?
Yeah. I've definitely had a couple of guys ask if it's from a body count perspective.
Right.
And the answer is no. It is purely dating, and that might not even be a face-to-face date. That might be a FaceTime date.
Yeah, wow.
So it is easy to rack up, 1,000 dates over, it is a decent period of time, like almost a decade. But when you are having FaceTime dates, which is definitely something that I have done a lot of, and I am actually an advocate for, it's easy. It's easy to rack up those numbers. But no, for me personally, those 1,000 dates, they have just been dates. That is me interacting with somebody, as I said, whether it's over FaceTime, whether it's face-to-face, having a classic date. It's not going home with them. It's not a body count situation.
Are we talking first dates, Natalia?
I would say that maybe 1 in 6, 7, 8 would lead to a second date. And then of that, I would say, oh gosh, maybe half would lead to a third date.
So I guess that's a perfect time to segue into what is it that you look for in another person?
I've definitely accumulated a bit of a list as time's gone on, as I think we all do. We have our mental checklist of what we want and don't want. Something that has been a really interesting learning for me is what I want isn't necessarily what I need.
Ooh, okay.
So when I was younger, I very much liked the kind of, like jovial, charismatic, fun, outgoing, like footballer type.
She's just described my type.
Oh, God.
And that was, the confident, like verging on cocky, like that was very much who I was drawn to. Over time, I have learnt, even though that was something that I thought was attractive and I liked and did want and try and seek out, it really doesn't go that well with my personality, or those types, they don't tend to be as humble. And that's a quality that I really love and appreciate now that I'm a bit older. After very much going for that type and it not working out, I found myself going completely the opposite direction. So then I would go for your classic nice guy. And I feel terrible saying this because that, whilst it was closer to what I wanted, someone who is just so nice and so accommodating, and it's almost like often they don't have their own opinions and their own, I know this sounds a bit harsh, but they don't have their own sort of backbone, and they're not as grounded, and they're almost too malleable. They'll just sort of, and I do want someone who is still strong within themselves and has their thoughts and feelings and values and things that are important to them. And so, yeah, over the years, I've definitely gone for what I wanted, but it wasn't what I needed. And then I did a complete 180 and that still wasn't the right fit. So that would definitely be one of like my biggest learnings through this whole dating journey. But what I'm looking for now is I do focus so much more than I did when I was younger, of course, on the internal qualities, as I think everyone naturally does as they get older. For me, number one is they have to be a good communicator. And I guess that sort of plays a little bit into attachment styles and what you were saying before. And, are they more of an avoidant, or are they more anxious, or, how does that
Do they
how does that
take 3
translate?
business days to respond to you when you've asked them an important question about the podcast?
Who would be that? Who's that?
Yeah, 3 business days. Not great when you're wanting to date someone anyway.
No,
That's definitely a no-go.
It's not.
So good communicator.
Good communicator, yes, so important. And a similar value set. Something that we've sort of talked about as well is love enough? Like, is attraction enough? And sadly, I just don't, for me personally, it isn't. Attraction isn't, you can love someone, but I think unless you have that same value set, and it might come down to how you communicate. It might come down to the things that you do together, or do you value family or travel or partying, or, I think that trying to find somebody with a similar value set to me is what I look for now more than anything. That, and as I said, the ability to be able to communicate, someone who wants the same things out of life that I do. From a physical standpoint, I don't have to have the hunky footballer type that I used to go for in my youth, but I am still a big believer in you have to have chemistry. 100%. You do. Yeah. I know that there are some people that say, oh, he was just my best friend and he grew on me, and, and there's no criticism of those people. But for me personally, that is not how I operate. There has to be attraction and chemistry there right from the get-go, because I've just learned through my many years of dating that it doesn't grow for me. And I think that it is very easy. I've had lots of people that have been married for a long time and they've been out of the dating game for a really long time, or they've never online dated, and they'll put their 2 cents in about how, you just have to have this in common and then it will grow, or then you'll start to be attracted to them. And I just think that unless you have been in this dating world where you've been single for a while, you've been dating for a while, you've done online dating, you really don't know what it's like.
No.
I've got no idea.
They've really got no idea. And for me, it just doesn't grow. So that is something that has to be there.
And I talk all the time about the spark, like it's important to have a spark.
Absolutely,
with someone.
really important to have a spark.
Yeah.
Yes, the values and your shared interests and all those things are important, but a spark is also, I think, fundamental.
100%.
Surely.
You made a good point about the shared interests. For me, I think that it doesn't even have to be shared, like as long as I guess their value, their activities that they like to do doesn't completely clash with your, you know, what you do. So, for example, there's a lot of guys that when I come across their profiles, it's just gym selfie after gym selfie, and like that is their jam, and that is fine. There is nothing wrong with that. But I know I'm not a gym goer, and a lot of them are like, this is what I'm looking for. And I know that I'm just not suited to them, and that's absolutely fine. One thing I've learned is being an extrovert versus being an introvert and the importance of that. So a previous partner of mine was an extrovert to the nth degree, and that's just not who I am. So he wanted to go out all the time and party and be with his friends, and that's fine, but I wanted to be home and being able to have some time on the couch and have cuddles and watch, you know, whatever amazing true crime doco is like the you know, on at the moment. So naturally, I think that when you're not aligned in that side of things, you are just naturally going to drift.
I think you need not necessarily shared interests, but interests that complement each other.
Yes.
That's well put. Yeah.
It goes against the whole opposites attract thing.
I've thought about this many times over the years. Is it opposites attract, or is it that you want to find someone who's like-minded and who's, you know, the male or the female version of yourself? I actually think it is more the latter. I think that if you are finding someone who is more like yourself, you're naturally going to think more similarly, operate in a more similar way, see the world in a similar sort of way. So the whole opposites attract thing for me doesn't have as much weight, but like anything, it's grey, right? It's nothing's ever black and white. And I know for me, I'm quite a feminine girly girl, and I do like, you know, a masculine man, and that's of course the opposite. But one could argue that that is actually just someone really tapping into their roots of their sex, and both of them are in their own way.
Talia, what are your top red flags? Like the things that you're like absolutely immediately no.
Well, if I was to pull out a list, it would roll on the floor. As I mentioned before, someone who relationship hops, absolutely. I would also say somebody who has children but doesn't really make the effort to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who, and this isn't unfortunately any fault of their own, but if they are in a really, if they're them and their ex-partner, if there's a lot of chaos and a lot of drama, like that is concerning to me. It's not a red flag per se, but it is sort of something that that person would have to be pretty special for me to, I guess, take on like a fight of that magnitude.
Any bad habits that you wouldn't tolerate?
I don't like smoking. I've been on many dates where the guys have just absolutely drunk to excess. They've Ubered it there with the assumption it's going to be a big night. It's like, dude, it's Wednesday. Like, yeah, so I think anyone sort of like big drinkers, drugs like that just for me personally is not my jam. Someone who speaks badly about really anyone, not just an ex, but if that way inclined, I just think that they're probably a little bit too much on the negative side for me. And further to that point, someone who is just quite negative, someone who hasn't worked at anything in their life. For me, I think regardless of what you're doing as a career, like if you have worked hard, that's a real big green flag, and versus if they haven't, then that's a red flag, especially at my age. I'm 38, so the people that I'm dating are in their 30s, 40s, ballpark. So I would kind of hope by this stage in life that they're not living in their mate's basement or living in their mum's shed. Happens a lot. You would more than what you would think.
Yeah.
So that's not good. If they've just got nothing to show for their life and where they are at, then that's definitally concerning.
It's so, I feel as a woman, it's so much easier to find people, unfortunately, who just demonstrate those red flags than it is to find the few small qualities that I don't think it's asking for too much to ask for communication, but it's so much harder to find men of that calibre.
What's wrong with living in mum's basement? It might be a really nice basement.
I mean, it might be. Sure.
Could be, really nice setup,
I've never gone into them, but yeah, I feel like I wouldn't come out. I'd be
Correct.
I'd be the next on the True Crime podcast.
Yeah, don't go down to the basement.
Let's talk about our trend of the week, our dating trend of the week. I've got one for you, and this relates straight to you, Natalia. It's called love luring.
Oh.
Dating for the plot.
Oh.
So love luring, this trend involves going on dates for the story or experience rather than solely for finding a long-term partner. Now, you've said already that you do go on dates looking for love.
Yes.
I think because we're both in this podcast industry and we've got websites and stories, there might be the fear that people think we're just going on dates for the plot or the experience or to get a good story to tell people. Now, we've already discussed this. That's not the case.
Yes.
However, it is recognised as a dating trend that some people do go on dates just for a good story.
And I have had many people ask me, am I going to end up on your blog? You know, is this why you're dating me? So I understand it being a real fear, as you said, given that we're in the industry that we're in. My response usually is you're too normal to end up on the blog, and that's the best possible compliment I could give someone.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have a dating trend for us as well.
So there's a zoo in the US that does it as part of a fundraising initiative, which I just think is so valuable and so great, where someone can pay $5, $10, whatever it is, to pick out a cockroach or a worm or something. They give it the name of their ex, and they get a little video of watching it get fed to an animal in the zoo.
That's great. That's great.
Where's the zoo?
There's 2 zoos actually. They're in the US. I can't remember exactly where, but I think they should bring it to Australia.
I think we should do a girls trip and go over.
Hang on.
I think we should too.
Stop. Business idea.
Yes.
Let's make it happen. Let's
Yes.
make this happen. That's a
Yes.
great business venture.
Do you want me to start
Isn't it?
harvesting cockroaches?
You harvest the cockroaches. That's your job. You approach the zoo, and I'll sit
Great.
back and watch the money come in.
And they launched on Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day is coming up. So maybe we need to get on it pretty quick so that then people can start naming these cockroaches and these.
There's cockroaches around here somewhere, I'm sure.
Excuse me.
Natalia, it's been an absolute pleasure. We are coming to the end of the episode.
Yes.
We've loved having you on. What a few stories we've heard today.
Oh, so many stories. I could listen to you speak for hours about this subject, and I'm sure there will be a part 2 or something in the works. We'd love to hear more about your story. And where can we find you? Where can our listeners find you if they want to hear more about Swipes in the City?
Yeah, so obviously we've got my website, so swipesinthecity.com.au, and I'm also on social media. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So my Instagram is Swipes and the City with underscores in between, and Facebook is just Swipes in the City.
Amazing. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again. It's been a real pleasure. What a treat.
Oh, we've just loved having you.
Oh, thank you. I've loved it too. You're both so lovely, so easygoing.
Oh,
thank
stop
you
it.
so much for inviting me.
Stop it.
This has just been the highlight of my week, so thank you.